Hello, I'm Lisa Running Bear. Looking back, I never imagined my dream job as a pediatric surgeon in Chicago would lead me down such a twisted path. It all started at a medical conference in Manhattan. I was presenting groundbreaking research on a new surgical technique that had reduced mortality rates by 63%. The mortality rates have decreased by 63% using this approach, I explained to a packed room, feeling a surge of pride. That's when I noticed him, James Thompson. His intense blue eyes locked on me with a focus that made my pulse quicken. Afterward, he approached me. "Your research is incredible," he said, offering me coffee. "I'd love to hear more about your experience with high-risk procedures." 2 hours later, we were still talking. As a cardiac surgeon, James understood the relentless pressures of the operating room. But what truly captivated me was his genuine interest in my Native American heritage and my journey from the reservation to medical school. 3 months of dating flew by, and then came the proposal at Millennium Park. It was perfect, or so I thought. Meeting his mother, Patricia, was when the first cracks began to show. A surgeon? How interesting, Patricia said, her eyes scanning me like a specimen under a microscope. I always pictured James with someone more traditional. I brushed it off, focusing on my work at Chicago Children's Hospital. One evening, I noticed a woman and her 2 children huddled in the parking lot. "My daughter has been running a fever," the woman explained timidly. "We lost our home last week." I brought them inside immediately. "Let's get her checked out. Don't worry about the paperwork, I'll handle it later." That night, I shared the story with James, feeling proud of making a difference. "That's what I love about you," he said, pulling me close. "Your heart is as skilled as your hands." But as our wedding approached, Patricia's true colors emerged. Guest lists shrank mysteriously, especially on my side. Traditions I wanted to include were accidentally overlooked. "The venue doesn't allow outside ceremonies," Patricia announced one day, effectively canceling my plans for a Native American blessing. Such a shame. James always defended her. "Mom's just old-fashioned," he'd say. "She'll come around." Then came the moment at the bridal boutique. While trying on dresses, I overheard Patricia on the phone. "Don't worry," she whispered. "Once they're married, we'll mold her into a proper Thompson wife. James will see things our way." Standing there in white lace, I felt a chill run down my spine. This wasn't just overbearing mother-in-law behavior. It was something much darker. If only I'd known then what was coming next. The morning of our wedding dawned bright and perfect. But as I adjusted my surgical mask in the locker room at Chicago Children's Hospital, something felt off. My phone buzzed with a message from Patricia. "Your recent performance reviews concern me. A surgeon in our family must be exceptional." My hands trembled. How did she access my confidential work documents? My reviews were stellar. I just completed my 100th successful pediatric heart surgery. Patricia had a way of twisting facts. "Dr. Running Bear, emergency in room 312. A nurse rushed in, snapping me back to the present. 7 hours later, I emerged from surgery, exhausted but fulfilled. I had saved a child's life. Returning to my office, I found Patricia waiting. "Just dropping off wedding planning materials," she said with a saccharine smile, placing a thick folder on my desk. "Oh, and I took the liberty of rescheduling some of your surgeries. The honeymoon dates needed adjusting." "You did what?" My voice echoed through the hallway. "Those surgeries are critical. You have no right." "James agrees with me," she said smoothly. "Family comes first, dear." That night, during dinner at our favorite steakhouse, James seemed distant. "Mother mentioned you're planning to quit surgery after the wedding," he said casually. "What?" I blinked, stunned. "That's ridiculous." She showed me the email you sent to the board. My stomach dropped. "James, I never sent any email." His expression darkened. "Are you calling my mother a liar?" The weekend he left for a medical conference, I decided to dig deeper. On his laptop, I found a hidden folder. What I uncovered made my blood run cold: manipulated documents, altered emails, fake social media posts. All meticulously crafted by Patricia to control every aspect of my life. The next day, I threw myself into work, desperate to process everything that had unraveled. A young patient's story caught my attention. Emily, a 12-year-old gymnast with a rare heart condition. "Nobody believes how much it hurts," Emily confided during her pre-op consultation. "They think I'm making it up." "I believe you. I said firmly, recognizing a painful parallel to my own situation. The surgery was challenging but successful. As Emily recovered, her mother hugged me tearfully. Thank you for listening to her when others wouldn't. Driving home through downtown Chicago, past the towering skyscrapers glistening in the evening light, I made a decision. I pulled into the parking lot of the FBI field office and contacted Agent Martinez, a former patient's mother who owed me a favor. These documents show a pattern of identity theft and fraud. I explained, laying out the evidence I had painstakingly gathered. Patricia Thompson has been systematically destroying her son's relationships and careers for years. Agent Martinez studied the files intently. Your surgical expertise saved my daughter's life, she said, her voice resolute. Now let me help you. That evening, as thunder rolled over Lake Michigan, I confronted James in our penthouse. Your mother forged hospital documents, I said, placing a folder on the table. She's been manipulating both of us. You're just jealous of our close relationship, he snapped. I shoved his laptop toward him. Look at these files yourself. See the truth. Lightning illuminated his face as he scrolled through the evidence. The color drained from his features. This can't be real, he whispered. A sharp knock at the door made us both freeze. Patricia burst in, rain dripping from her designer coat. James, don't listen to her lies, she hissed. I've protected you all these years by destroying every good thing in my life. James stood. His expression hardened, finally seeing his mother clearly. Everything I did was for you. Patricia's composure cracked. These outsiders could never understand our family. At that moment, Agent Martinez and her team entered. As they led Patricia away, her venomous gaze locked onto me. You ungrateful girl. You'll regret this. I watched James' world crumble in real time. The city lights blurred through my tears as I drove to Sarah's apartment. My best friend and a brilliant defense attorney, Sarah opened the door without hesitation. I have evidence of extensive fraud, I said, my voice steady despite my shaking hands. And I need your help to make sure this never happens to anyone else. Returning to Chicago Children's Hospital helped ground me. The laughter of young patients and the familiar corridors reminded me why I became a surgeon. But the storm wasn't over yet. Dr. Running Bear, there's an emergency board meeting, Dr. Chen informed me one morning. They're reviewing some irregularities in the cardiac unit's records. In the conference room, the tension was palpable. Dr. Harrison, the chief of surgery, displayed financial documents on the screen. We've discovered systematic billing fraud in the cardiac department, he announced. Several procedures were billed but never performed. My heart sank as familiar signatures appeared on the documents, James's name alongside Patricia's as department administrator. The insurance companies are demanding a full audit, Dr. Harrison continued. Dr. Running Bear, given your reputation for integrity, we'd like you to lead the internal investigation. That evening, while reviewing files in my office, I received an unexpected visitor, Maya Chen, James's ex-fiancée from 5 years ago. I saw the news about Patricia, Maya said softly. I should have spoken up sooner about what she did to me. She recounted how Patricia had sabotaged her residency applications, spread rumors about medical mistakes, and forced her to transfer to Seattle. It's the same pattern, I muttered, adding her statement to my growing file of evidence. The next day brought a breakthrough in pediatric care. A young patient named Tommy needed an experimental heart procedure his family couldn't afford. I'll cover it, I decided, dipping into my savings. Every child deserves a chance. During Tommy's surgery, I noticed something odd about the equipment. The serial numbers didn't match our records. Following this thread led to another disturbing discovery. Patricia had been cutting corners by purchasing substandard medical supplies and pocketing the difference. Agent Martinez called with updates. We've linked Patricia to similar schemes at 3 other hospitals. She's been doing this for decades. A knock at my office door interrupted the call. James stood there, haggard and defeated. I've been blind, he admitted. Mother showed me the real documents. Everything you said was true. It's not just about us anymore, I replied. Patients' lives were put at risk. That night, while organizing evidence at Sarah's apartment, we received an urgent message. Someone had broken into the hospital's records room. Racing to the hospital, we found Patricia attempting to shred documents. You ungrateful girl, she snarled, her face twisted with rage. I built this department. No one will believe you over me. But security cameras had caught everything. As Patricia was led away for the second time, I felt a bittersweet sense of justice. One afternoon, while checking on Tommy's recovery, his mother shared something startling. Patricia tried to contact us, she revealed hesitantly. She offered money for us to say you made mistakes during surgery, but we recorded everything. The web of lies was finally unraveling. As more people came forward, nurses, administrators, even Patricia's former assistants, the depth of her manipulation became clearer. Each story added a new layer to the puzzle, revealing years of calculated deceit. Dr. Harrison called another board meeting. Thanks to Dr. Running Bear's investigation, he announced, we're implementing new oversight procedures. Every department will now have transparent accountability. As I stepped out of the meeting, my phone buzzed. A message from Maya lit up the screen. Starting a support group for medical professionals affected by fraud. Want to help? I smiled, typing my response as the sun dipped below Chicago's skyline. It was time to turn this painful chapter into something positive. Sometimes the worst betrayals lead to the strongest alliances. 1 year later, I stood at the podium of New York's Medical Research Center, addressing a packed auditorium at the annual Pediatric Surgery Conference. Today, I announce, my voice steady with conviction, I'm launching the Healing Hearts Initiative, a nationwide program ensuring every child has access to life-saving surgeries, regardless of their family's financial situation. Thunderous applause filled the room. In the front row, Tommy, now healthy and energetic, sat beaming with pride alongside his mother. A reporter raised a hand during the Q&A. Dr. Running Bear, how did you transform a medical fraud scandal into the country's largest pediatric care program? By remembering our true purpose as doctors, I replied, every crisis presents an opportunity to help others. The initiative had already saved hundreds of lives. We'd opened free clinics in underserved communities across America, from Detroit to Los Angeles. Each success story helped heal the wounds left by the Thompson scandal. Back in my new office at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, where I'd recently accepted the role of Chief of Pediatric Surgery, I reviewed applications for our medical scholarship program. The funds, recovered from Patricia's fraudulent schemes, now supported aspiring doctors from disadvantaged backgrounds. Sarah burst in, waving a newspaper. Have you seen this? She asked excitedly. The medical board's fraud prevention guidelines are being adopted nationwide. They're calling it the Running Bear Protocol. I laughed, remembering our late-night strategy sessions in her Chicago apartment. We did it, Sarah. We really did it. That evening, while visiting our newest clinic in Minneapolis, a familiar face appeared, Maya, now running her own successful practice in Seattle. Remember when we thought we were alone in this? She asked, smiling. Now look at us, changing the system from within. As we walked through the clinic, watching doctors care for patients with genuine compassion, I felt a deep sense of peace. The trauma of my past had transformed into triumph, not just for me, but for countless others. The next week's surgery schedule was packed. My assistant handed me a tablet detailing 3 complex cardiac procedures. Perfect, I said, reviewing the cases. This was where I belonged, in the operating room, saving lives, teaching others, and ensuring integrity remained at the heart of medicine. The setting sun bathed the Minneapolis skyline in golden light as I prepared for the next day. On my desk sat a framed photo of Tommy and other children we'd helped, smiling faces that reflected the true meaning of healing. What would you do if someone close to you, a family member or partner, was systematically destroying lives while maintaining a perfect public image? Would you expose them and risk everything, or handle it privately? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective could help others facing similar ethical dilemmas. If you found this story compelling, hit that subscribe button and join our community, where we explore complex moral situations through storytelling.